there are ways that I am being intentional about choosing my way of making money in a way of things that actually are fulfilling to me. So sometimes we can find that balance. Sometimes we're not able. We have to do things that make money that we're good at, but we don't really feel the fulfillment. So we have to then make time to make sure we still have other ways of fulfilling that. So I have to manage that. I have to manage those things within myself and to understand what is actually happening. Am I making enough money to be able to have the time that I want and then be able to use that time to pursue fulfillment? Am I able to get some fulfillment out of how I make money? These are things we have to explore, and everyone's life is different. Which should we focus on, enjoying life or making money? Now, some of you may say, well, this is a choice that we don't need to make, but it is often the truth that people have made this choice and they've often made the wrong choice and sacrificed enjoying their life to make money. And there's other situations in which people have sacrificed making some money to better enjoy their life. I'm reminded of so many situations that we see today where individuals did so many things so that they could get to the top of their career, or so that they could be a popular singer or dancer or entertainer or actor, or people who did certain things to grow in a specific profession. And they look back and they're very, very depressed about some of the things that they gave up so that they could get where they, at the time, they thought they wanted to be. You know, money is a very powerful thing, and sometimes it causes people to sacrifice even their own character, their own integrity, even things that they know are wrong. We will look the other way. This is why it's an important decision to really think about what is really the outcome of us choosing between enjoying life and making money, and is there a way to find a balance between the two? You know, think about things that are going on even in large corporations in which there are people making decisions that they know are hurting other people, and yet they look the other way because there's a lot of money in that business. There are things that, you know, we're often not even told until later. Someone does research, someone exposes something, and we find out later that we've been eating something the whole time that people knew was not good, and even certain tests that showed it was not good, or certain things that they knew, certain chemicals that cause certain diseases, people look the other way. This shows us that the desire for money will oftentimes cause people to do things they would not ordinarily do. And then when you think about enjoying life, what does that really mean? How do we enjoy life? There's things we enjoy in life, but how do we have an enjoyable life? What does it mean to be fulfilled? And how do we begin to cross this balance between the two? Because you would think that we need money and you would think that we want to enjoy life, but so many people sacrifice one for the other. And today we're going to explore, what is this all about? And what do we really want to do to be where we should be? And where do we really, want to be? All of that we're going to explore right now. Let's jump in. All right, let's break this down and let's think about, why do we really need to make money? Why do we need wealth? Now, I want you to think about, now we all know we need money, but I want you to think a little bit deeper about this and some of the things that impact, this whole desire behind money. Now, I'm gonna go to my whiteboard for a minute. And when you think about this money bag and all the stuff that it brings, now, some critical things that we must consider when we think about money, we think about what money gives us the ability to do. One critical thing, right, and this could be good or bad, is money allows us to actually fulfill our desire, right? Now, we could have a good desire, we could have a bad desire. So I could desire to do something bad or evil. I could desire to do something good or pleasant. And money gives me the ability to do that if I want something, whatever that thing is. And so we've seen this really hurt people who had the wherewithal and the means to have things that weren't good for them. And so they were able to use the money to get that thing that wasn't good for them. So we have to deal with the core of our desire, because if our desire is in a good or bad place, money allows us then to fulfill that. But another element of money is money also brings protection. So sometimes we think about money, it's not just about, I want this amount of money and that amount of money. I also think about actual protection, because when I have the money that I need, I'm protected from a bill collector. I'm protected from not being able to have a place to stay and have shelter. I'm protected from not having clothing that's needed. I'm protected from hunger, right? So although there's a relationship between desire, sometimes it is simply a form of protection. So when you think about that, it's a very critical thing to understand why money is so pivotal, because of desire and protection. So when we think about the fact that money can bring desire and protection, we still have to go to another level to understand even a greater reason that money is important. So when we think about money, there's something that we talk about even from a biblical perspective. Let's go back to the whiteboard for a minute. And we talk about sometimes with money, how money, the Bible talks about how it answers all things. And so here we learn that the questions in life often have a price tag. So it's a question of whether or not I can pay for this. It's a question of whether or not I'm going to have enough to be able to sustain my family. Those are questions that come about that money can answer, right? So this is what the Bible means about, when it says it answers all things. But also, we also see in the Bible talks about how the love of money, right? It talks about how it is a root of all evil. Now, this simply means that a lot of evil that we see that comes from mankind, at the root of it is money. And we see this so much in the food industry. We saw it at the foundation of how America was created, built on free labor. We saw, all the things that, people will do in the name of, entertainment, way that people leverage money to get people to do things that they shouldn't have to do, but they hang something over their head with regard to money, and it's used in an evil way with an evil intent, right? But the money itself, again, is not evil, but it can be used for evil if the person is evil who has the money. So this is why we see that money is on this teetering, line of what could be good, what could be used for good, what could be used for evil. But when you think about money, let's bring another element. What about the element of time? So let's go back here to the whiteboard, and I want to deal with, we think about money, right? And then we think about time. And when we think about time, right, and how time is always moving. So when we think about the battle between these two, and we consider money and we consider time, right? And if there was a battle between the two, we know that the greatest winner here would be time. And the reason that time will always and has to be more valuable than money is because time is a limited resource, right? And money is an unlimited resource. So what do we mean by that? I can make money at any time. I can lose money and make it again. I can make $100,000 today, right? And I can lose $100,000 today. And tomorrow I have another opportunity to do it again. Time is something that is a limited resource, and I cannot get time back. I can't grab an hour back, a second back, a minute back. And this is the reason why there's no amount of money in which someone would exchange it for their natural life, right? Even $1 billion, 10 billion, $1 trillion, you could just go as far as you want, because you can't enjoy the money without life, without more time on earth. So this is why we understand by default that time is more valuable than money. So when we understand that time is more valuable than money, then we start to understand a relationship between money and time that is so important. So let's look at this. When you think about, money and the fact that money gives me the ability to actually buy time, right? Because my money allows me to pay for things that I would have had to spend my time to do. This is why I can spend money to have someone help me with my business, to collapse the time it takes for me to grow my business. I can pay for someone to do my lawn. I can pay for someone to actually provide a service for me to actually be able to service something at my home or help me with a specific problem that I'm having with a particular challenge in my family. Whatever that thing is, whatever's taking my time away, I can spend money in some way. I can use better technology. I can have better equipment. I can have a car versus taking the bus. All these things, money allows you to collapse time. And we go back to this, we looked at time then is essentially creating freedom. When I have more time, then I have time, I can actually do the things that I want. So this is why money is so important, why we need to make money. So we've established money, that we can't throw it out. We can't just say we can only focus on enjoying life, because money's playing a critical part in us having the freedom to do what we want to do. We still at the root need some form of money. So now it's time to break down another side of this. Let's jump in. All right, we talked about money. Now let's talk about enjoying life. Now, we think about enjoying life. What does enjoy even mean? What does enjoying life even mean? We all enjoy different things, right? So is there a universal thing that we can really say that we all enjoy? Is there a universal way to approach what makes us all feel happy, feel, good? Well, let's first just deal with the word enjoy. Now, let's go back to the whiteboard again. And when we think about enjoy, I want you to consider the word fulfillment. When we think about fulfillment, right? Feeling fulfilled. Now, when we think about fulfillment, if we look at ourselves as a glass, and we often sometimes will say, I feel empty inside. Well, when we think about fulfillment, we're really saying that I have a sense of feeling, filled up with a certain amount of meaning in my life, happiness in my life, joy, things that I actually desire to feel emotionally. If I don't feel good about myself, no matter what I have, it's not real to me, because what's real to me is how I feel. Oftentimes, how we feel is what becomes real. So we have to begin to consider, if there is really one thing that dictates how we see the world, how we see ourselves, it's many times the way we actually feel, and the things that emotionally are driving us, right? So all of this is tied to whether or not we actually get to this place that we think of when we say enjoyment, right? So I want you to consider this for a minute. What is it that makes us feel fulfilled? What needs to be filled up? So let's go back here to my whiteboard here, and we're going to create I'm going to make just like a canister here that can hold water, let's say. So it's let's look at this kind of like a cup, okay? And when we think about fulfill, and let me get some darker blue, like water here, right? So if we want, to feel fulfilled up here, right? And so in here, we have this sense of fulfillment. So when we think about how we got here, and we talk about enjoying life. So there are a few levels here that I want to call out. And we'll do it this way. Let me use a brighter color here. So the first level that we want to look at, just going through here like so. The first level we want to look at is we actually like to be able to create, right? So this has to do with making or inventing, right? Being able to create things, make something. So this is why people want to create a business, or if they're working in a company, they want to create the plan for the event the company is going to do. They want to be able to create their, workspace. They want to be able to create a plan at home for what they're going to do. If you have a hobby, if you like to garden, if you like to, make things, maybe you want to, you actually are creative and you like to cook food. You want to make necklaces. You want to create, different things that allow you to let your imagination. You're an artist. You like to draw. Anything that you can create, there's a fulfillment that comes from that money can't buy, because something came from your mind and you were able to take that and actually bring it to life. So it is in us. We were made that way, that if we don't feel that, there's a sense of us not feeling fulfilled, right? So let's go back here. Another layer here is contribution. So contribution, here I want to feel like I matter. I want to feel responsible for something, right? And this is why this is something that's in us by nature, right? That goes all the way back to the garden in the days of Adam, all the way back to the way God made man. These are things that are in us. This is why we want to feel responsible for something. Even if we work on something, there's a point at which we want to be able to be responsible for our work. We want to be responsible for making sure it came together and get that sense of being needed, right? That I'm needed, that there's a reason that my effort, my work, my thoughts, my being matters, right? And this is why sometimes, parents can feel this with children. People can feel this with pets. That's a real thing. Like you want to feel needed. You want to feel a sense of being able to contribute. You want to be able to be a part. If you're on a team, you want to know you contributed to the team. You don't have to be the best scorer, but you got to know that you contributed. It's just something different, when a team wins and you didn't contribute. Even though you might have got the trophy at the end, it just doesn't feel the same, right? You got all the, your name is on there, like everyone who won, but in your heart, you were injured and you didn't play. So there's a different, you don't feel the same when you couldn't contribute. So this is another key element, right? And I don't care who you are. We talk about enjoying life. We need these, right? Now, let's go back here. And then another key one is we need connection. So for that fulfillment to be full, we need connection. Now, this is why we all need relationships. There's a natural desire to have a relationship, to have friends, to have family, to be married, to date. And whether you're married or single, we all have a sense of needing relationships around our life. We want to have people, we want to build bonds. We want to connect with someone, right? And if we don't have that connection, even if you have some things you're responsible for and you contribute to, even if you create things, but you don't have any relationships that you can really trust, you won't feel fulfilled. It doesn't matter how much money you have. And so what's so amazing about what we're talking about right now, this is why there's so many people who have made so much money and achieved so many great things. And then you say, how could they be a drug addict? How could they be miserable? Why would they hurt themselves, hurt their body? This is why this is so important. It lets you know that money cannot actually address this issue that I'm talking about right now. So we have to actually understand that there's something in us that is left this way, right? And really, if we're honest, we have to realize that there is also just a fulfillment void that God left in us to desire to know more about him. And if you don't fulfill that desire, you'll always try to find some other thing to fill it up. You'll try to give your life to a certain career, to a certain thing, but there's something God left in us to want to know more about him. And some people override it and they're able to keep it moving, and they instead make a God out of something else. You can make a God out of sports, out of a hobby. You can give your whole life to studying killer whales. You can give your whole life to studying how plants work. You can, give your whole life over to studying space and stars. Give your whole life over to singing. You can give your whole life over to a sport, right? But all of us are going to serve some God. And this is why God was so strong about there only being one God, because he knew all of mankind would be looking for a God to worship. So we have to really address this with respect to fulfillment. And this is why fulfillment is something we can't ignore. And so I want you to understand, here we talked about money and why it's important, but now we have a clear case for why fulfillment and enjoyment of life cannot be ignored, because we've seen people with the money that took their life because they didn't have this. So this is why we have to look at both of these very, very carefully. And speaking of looking at both of these, it's time now to bring it all together. All right, so we have broken it down and we're really digging deep into enjoying life or making money. And now we got to think about, how do we bring this all together? Now, I want you to consider for a minute that if you really want the most out of your life, you have to know that these two things exist and you have to be able to put them in their proper place. When you think about this, go to my whiteboard again here. So I want you to consider, I'm going to do a simple kind of a Venn diagram here. And I want you to consider, let me make this a little bit more equal here. We talked about making money, say make money. We talked about enjoy life. So what we have to come to grips with, I'll use a green color here, there's a part where both of these kind of meet. And this is the optimal condition. So when we think about the optimal condition between making money and enjoying life, the only way to get to that optimal condition is to first be aware that this is possible and to desire for it to be possible for you. You can't meet a goal that you don't have, right? So I have to think about that and be intentional that I am aware of these two sides. And if I want to be able to have both, I have to be conscious of how far I go in either side. So I can say it is fulfilling for me to do certain things and do that every day, all day, and don't do anything that helps me learn how to make money. And I might be happy and enjoying certain things, but not be able to provide for myself or my family. So either one of these, only focused on by itself, will lead to some sort of problem. So in fact, we need money to enjoy life, and we need to enjoy life, right, while still being able to make money. So I have to be aware. Now, when you think about this, going back, if I also look at this as like a line, let me make that a little bit straighter here. And on here, on this line, if I looked at this as, I could be all the way over here to the left, or I could be all the way over here to the right. So we have to understand, how do I move the make money side over to make sure I'm thinking about a fulfilling life? How do I make sure, as I do things that fulfill me, that I have a plan of how I'm going to make money? So when we think about these two extremes, we want to be able to actually call out the distinct things that I'm going to do. And while I'm actually in pursuit of my goal of making money, once I've made my choice, I'm career, entrepreneurship, I'm going to build wealth through real estate, I'm going to do this and do that. Am I protecting time for the things that help me feel that fulfillment, right? Am I still having time to create things? Am I still having time to contribute? And am I still having time to connect? Now, something that's actually pretty interesting is, when you think about this kind of centerpiece that we have on the whiteboard, you know, there's a point at which sometimes in our pursuit of making money, we get to create things, right? Sometimes in the way we make money, we get to feel a sense of contribution. And sometimes in the way that we make money, we get to connect with people. So this can have this part also that comes together because there are ways that I am being intentional about choosing my way of making money in a way of things that actually are fulfilling to me. So sometimes we can find that balance. Sometimes we're not able. We have to do things that make money that we're good at, but we don't really feel the fulfillment. So we have to then make time to make sure we still have other ways of fulfilling that. So I have to manage that. I have to manage those things within myself and to understand what is actually happening. Am I making enough money to be able to have the time that I want and then be able to use that time to pursue fulfillment? Am I able to get some fulfillment out of how I make money? These are things we have to explore, and everyone's life is different. You know, this is why sometimes people are in a situation where the way that they're making money is not making them happy. And some people are making money, but not as much as someone else, but they're fulfilled while they're making the money. They love their time off. They're able to work from home on certain days. They're able to do things that they enjoy. They love talking to people. They love helping people. And this job allows them to help people. All these things are what we're balancing. So the key is we have to be intentional about understanding where we're at. Based on how our life moves today, where am I at? How am I actually doing things? And am I exactly where I want to be? Do I need to make adjustments to my pursuit of making money? Do I need to make a change there because it's taking too much away from my enjoyment in life? Am I so much focused on enjoying my life that I just don't make enough money to be able to have, the things that are needed or to be able to take care of my responsibilities, which is back to contribution? All these things we have to evaluate. And when you become educated, like we are from this episode, then you can begin to think deeper about how I want to do that and be intentional about it. So I want you to leave some comments here. Make sure and leave some comments. What are some things that you think about when you think about, fulfillment, when you think about making money? Or have you found ways that you can do both? Do you actually think about this? How has this impacted you? When you think about being intentional, what are some things that you can do or someone can do? Maybe you have some advice for others or even myself. What are some things you've tried? Have you been in a situation where you worked somewhere but you didn't feel fulfilled? Have you ever made an adjustment in how you make money so that you can have more fulfillment? All these things are things that we actually deal with on a day-to-day, and I want you to explore, how has that impacted you, and be intentional about finding that centerpiece spot between making money and enjoying life. And for those of you that are spiritual out there, we all know that you can't have true fulfillment without putting God in his rightful place. So those of you who know, you know. Now, I want to give you some final thoughts. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you see that we must be intentional about making sure we have a way to make money while also being very clear about how we want to enjoy life. We want to be really clear about our spiritual foundation. We want to be clear about our, life foundation, the things that we want to do that really make us happy, that make us feel fulfilled, to have those moments where we laugh and we cry and we hug the people that are close to us. Life is measured in time, and all those precious moments, we want to make sure that we're thinking more about how many precious moments we have in the time we have versus making sure that we just have more time. It's the moments that we have in that time that is so important. And to have more of those moments, oftentimes we need money. We need money to take that vacation. We need money to be able to spend time. We need money to be able to sometimes make sure something is taken care of so that we don't have to do it and we can do something else that makes us happy. And when you understand the things we've talked about in this episode, you'll see all the synergies and relationships and how we can use money to actually create things and to contribute, as well as we can begin to make connections, and we can, have connections that are related to how we helped someone because we're in a financial position to do so. And it's not about how much money we have, but it's about having enough money to do the things that are important to us. It's not about, how much time we have. It's about how fulfilling the time is when we have it. And so we want to use all of this arsenal of weapons. There's not one solution. There's not one way, but we've been armed with something that allows us to now have intention so that we can find that center place between having the money we need, but also not sacrificing a fulfilling life. I advise you to not lose who you are just for what you want to have. Make sure you stay focused on being everything you want to be while also having what you want to have. Until next time, God bless you.